All right, folks, we are here with Rick Perez, one of my favorite guests we had back in episode 25, where we learned about how he started this company, Avangard Innovative, with a phone, a fax in his parents' bedroom. And Rick, since last time we spoke, things have kind of changed a little bit in terms of what's going on in China and the biggest misconceptions people have with plastic. So, Rick, I guess I gotta ask you, the first question is, what's changed since we last spoke in September about recycled plastics, and what are some of the biggest misconceptions people are having right now?
First and foremost, it's great to be back and spending some time with you. There has been a lot of changes in the perception of plastics and really what's happening in the marketplace, right? So, we all know, awareness is there's a lot of movement and a lot of awareness of plastic in the ocean. There's a lot of issues with the commodity pricing because of China has closed the border. So most of the plastics were going to go into China. That border has been closed. So and then all of a sudden now India's closing. So what is happening to plastics? And the perception is that everything's going to the landfill. Well, the answer is that's not true. There is a market. There's an ability to capture it. There's a market within the United States for all the applications. So first and foremost, nobody panic. The price of commodities it's a commodity price. It goes up and down. But really the awareness of what's really happening is what are we going to do to change the perception of plastics as a bad thing, which is actually really a good thing, right? We as a consumer, we use it. It's a very practical and very efficient way to carry package things. It's not a bad thing if we capture it. The reality is, plastic can be such a powerful thing. And I think what we discussed this before, to reuse plastic in the circular economy, it actually takes 75% less energy and raw materials to go back into the packaging. So I think really where we need to do is the education from the polymer design, which means the original plastic when it got designed to make a pellet, that it can be recycled at the end of the life product. And I think that's one of the communications in the really toxic industry, is to truly have circular economy and what's happening in the recyclables. When you start with the polymer, which is the plastic resin to make it, we already know what the applications, and then when you produce a product, you know how it's going to be segregated and how it's going to be recycled at the end of life. So that's really what's happening. And we have to create better relocations or gathering for the capture of the materials so it can be easily adopted and recycled. That's really important.
And Rick, I love your take on this because it just blew my mind, because I've seen so much going on with these ocean cleanups. And after listening to your episode and publishing it, the title of the newsletter I put out was, "We Love Ocean Plastic." Why would we love ocean plastic? Well, it's like you said, you can pick it up, you take it, you wash it, you refine it, use 75% less energy, and you're able to melt these down in these little pellets. And we just got done interviewing a lot of sustainable fashion companies who are using these recycled plastics and polyester products and materials for less and using them in their products. Now, what excites you the most about this new revolution of the circular economy?
What excites me is we can do it now. There's a technology and the ability to do that. So we launched Natura Zero 2.0, which is our process, how to do it and use the technology sustain. So we created kind of the Fitbit for waste and recycling so that you could track. So the first thing and foremost, how do you tell the story? How do you really tell, if you're a brand owner, how do you go and tell the story of what you're doing? If you don't know what you're capturing, what you're doing with it. So for us, by creating the Fitbit, you put these devices on every compactor, every baler, and every scale, and we can tell you what's happening at every location. Now, then you use data analytics to drive waste costs down, meaning things don't go to the landfill. We pull it out, and you monetize it, and it's a usable, recyclable product into the circular economy, back into the supply chain. And then we created Natura PCR, which is a processing facility where we're currently taking film, and we're working with companies that are also bringing product from the ocean that we're going to bring back in. And then it's going to products at a very high specialized grades that are going to go back on the shelf. So all the major brands, you will be able to tell now that it's made from post-consumer resin versus not knowing that it has recycled content. So the days of using recycled contents in the consumer not knowing, that's the way it used to be. So if it was clear, you wanted it clear and nobody knew about it. Now, to really make a dent in people, the consumer understand and be trendy, when they hold up a bottle or something that they buy made from recycled content, they will know. So that's what excites me, because consumers want to know that they're buying a product that is made with good recycled content and being good stewards to the environment, to our society, and to the environment, and economically sound for the consumer. So it works all the way across, and I see that sense of awareness now.
And speaking with someone in Adidas, I was asking him like, "Oh man, you guys are doing great things with ocean plastic and recycling, using it for your fabrics." And then she was like, "Well, yes and no. We're using a lot of plastics from landfills as well. So when you are saying that you're taking the plastics from the oceans, are there higher costs associated with that? And what's really driving you to focus on this ocean cleanup and focus on these other plastics?"
Let me clarify that. The one thing is, I think, is everybody has a focus, right? Our focus is we're working with companies that are bringing it out from there and using it in our plant.
Okay.
So our main focus is B2B. So we focus on the big, large retails, groceries, nationwide, big distribution, big volumes. And the idea is to become there in a good stewardship about how they're utilizing their packaging and how we're bringing it back into the circular economy. But if you're producing a product that's going to end up in a retail that's going to be sold through, whether it's a grocery store or online or wherever it is, how is that getting captured to make products again? Now, what we're doing with the ocean, that's nice that the ocean does for us, it consolidates it somewhere, right? So we focus and we talk about plastics is that's something we can see visually. What we don't see and we don't talk about is the contaminants that we don't see and dilute into the oceans, killing, our coral and fish and so on. So there's so many factors where I think the important things, if we can see it, we can capture it, right? So there's a solution for that. That solution is not going into plastic and say, oh, we're going to make biodegradable plastics and substitute and add that to the supply chain of recyclables, because what that just did for us, we can't recycle. It just contaminated the recycling streams. So I think what's one of the things that we're asking brand owners and resin producers before they come out with all these, trendy things that they sound good in theory, they're really contaminating the recycling streams and making it way harder of where we are today in the recycling efforts. The answer is, we have a problem. How can we really figure it out internally from the resin producer all the way to the brand consumer and also the consumer of the goods, right? So we have to have that supply chain and that honest talk. Whatever we start is what we're going to produce, and 100% has to be able to be recycled, circular economy, and alive back into the system, back to the consumer. And if we do that, there's no doubt that we can do it with every plastic generated today. No doubt. It's just a matter of alignment, right? That's really where the key is.
And what are some of the challenges you're finding with this alignment and working with these other business owners?
It's really simple. The answer is always money, right? So if you think about, everybody wants an edge over their competition. Everybody wants a cooler, slicker looking product than the next guy. So they don't talk, because that's going to make the difference between how it goes to the marketplace. Also, the major issues we have, recycling and waste are putting the same sentence. And that's an absolutely problem. We call it finding your hidden green assets. And if you think about it as an asset, that the product is valuable, then there's not a cost to it. So if you're able to move from a cost structure to an asset and a valuable, then the mindset should change. So I always say, you don't go to, whenever you need a liver transplant, you don't go see a doctor. You go see a specialist in liver transplants. Dentists are doctors, and I'm not going to go see a dentist to do my liver transplant. And that's kind of where it's happening, because waste companies, which are absolutely crucial in the supply chain, and they have an absolutely great uh, um, part of what we need. They rent new equipment, they haul off, and they have landfills of things that we can put in there, which is not bad. I mean, landfills are good if you have a place where you're actually bringing things in that organics or other products that need to be disposed of. But if we can minimize that by monetizing it and putting them back in the supply chain using less resources, we should do that. But the models are different. So if your alignment and the way you make money is renting, hauling, and putting things in the landfill, that's not the same as a recycler for us. That we're like, well, no, we capture more out of the landfill, we monetize that product, bring it back into the circular economy and the life, and put it back into the shelf. Completely different models, but it's always kept waste and recycling the same thing, and that's where the problem goes.
And that's what's a little scary. Now, I know you said don't be scared at the beginning, but I heard that some states are may stop recycling because, like you said, China and India aren't collecting these plastics anymore. Is policy going to have to make you make any changes with your business model at all?
Not with our business model. We're a B2B business primarily, where that does happen, and it's very true. It's what's happening when the economics, and it goes back to this, the answer is money. I hate it because environmental issues are so important, but it also, we also have to be honest with each other. If a business is not economically sustainable first, then the environmental and the socially doesn't happen. Then it's called philanthropy, and that's
Right.
different. Philanthropy is not a good business practice. So it's what you do when you generate cash and give back to the community. But as for running a business, you're looking at how do you generate money. And so what happens is in the single stream garbage business, right, from residential, what's happening today, if you are a processor and you have a recycling facility, the city is charging you, the homeowner association is getting charged to sort out these plastics. When the commodities come down and you're running this through sorting systems, if everybody in that street did not participate, okay, that means you didn't get enough recyclables already through it. So you depend on the public to generate this for you, correct? And that's where it's very important that everybody in the community participates in bringing that material in. And two, the problem in that economics, if you put that in the landfill and it makes you more money than actually processing it, that's when it gets tricky, right? Even though waste companies have an obligation to do that, at the end, like I said, if it makes you more money by putting it in a landfill and you can charge for it again, that's the problem. So yes, I think short term, just like we had in the oil business, when the oil went up and down, and gasoline has the same issues. We just have to know that we always have to recycle, and it's the right thing to do for the environment, our kids, our generation. And there's a cost when it's a residential cost. If we all participate, and the cost will go away. And if we don't have to sort out the impurities, and people understand what can be recycled and not, and I think that's one of the things. Everybody, if you ask whoever you ask, everybody has a different perception. Different cities says what you can recycle, and different municipalities and different waste companies will tolerate this and tolerate that. That's also a problem. Consumers cannot, you got to make it so easy for them. Just put everything in. That's what we need to get to. If it's plastic, if it's a cardboard, if it's a metal, if it's glass, throw it in there. That's how it should be.
And Rick, that's a great answer. And we had a guest on the show a couple days ago, and I asked him a similar question. I said, why are you making these changes? And he said, well, the Earth, they have finite resources. Eventually, we will run out. I'd rather be a leader in this space than a follower, because eventually it will happen. So my question for you is, how is leadership, and how does leadership play a role, in this next generation, and help with your own business as well?
I'll tell you, that's a great question. And it's 100%. If leaders in organization, leaders in the community, leaders in any structure do not understand that sustainability, our the environment, and what we do with, it's not just about profit anymore. And by the way, the funny thing is, this is a profitable venture. It lowers your cost. It helps the environment. But we don't think about it that way because, again, it's always put into the cost column instead of the asset column. And we have to change our mindset for that. But leaders have to demand. We have some amazing customers. And I can tell you, in a huge organization, the difference between a great leader in opcos, so I'm talking about a national, major, big organization. The difference between a president in opco that just truly cares about just purely numbers and doesn't understand the value of that, and then you have a president that we deal with that's the same size, same everything, that says, you know what, this is the right thing to do. Change their office recycling program. Everybody bought into it. By the way, we got rid of all their trash cans. We put all the recycling bins. Everybody stands up and on the way to the bathroom, on the way to water fountain, on the way to the copier machine, puts everything in the right spot. They saved a gazillion dollars, not only in just or they're doing the right thing for the environment, but they saved a ton of money on janitorial. Now imagine getting rid of, in one office space, almost 1,000 bags of plastic that don't need to be put in there. 1,000 times every person janitorial has to come pick it up. Now they go to one locations every 16 or 24 feet, whatever we're putting them in, and they could like 10 times. How much time did you save? How much product that was recycled comes back in and goes into the right places? And what we realized, people thought they were recycling, and we go in and we're like, oh, Rick, we have an amazing recycling program. That's excellent. And I go into it and they're putting into black bags. Right. So here's the thing. Janitorial comes in, they grab them all, they throw them all in the corner. Where do you think that all ends up?
In the waste.
Garbage. That's right. Even though the people say, no, we're collecting it. So these are the things that when you have it from the lens of a recycling company that focuses on sustainability and actually capture, we call it capture percentage rate, and we measure what's going to the landfill and what's actually getting captured and what's going to waste to energy and all these different things we can do, from organics to metals to pallets to you name it, we do it. And that's the kind of awareness that a president like the OPCO that we were talking about earlier, he's made it unbelievable impression on this company, and he's just making so much more money. We saved him 78% on hauling costs by measuring it and pulling that out and monetizing it. It's amazing. But if you don't look at it that way, it's not going to happen.
Well, there you go. Hidden green assets. Hidden green assets when you least expect it. That's incredible.
Hidden green assets. That's absolutely right.
You're very passionate about this subject. Obviously, you love what you do. Now, this might be a trite question, but really, why are you doing what you're doing?
You know, first and foremost, when I started the business as a young 22-year-old, of course, my first idea is I need to make money. Okay, right. That's, I'm being honest, and that's what it was. And then the second thing I realized, wow, what a great impact I'm doing to society and the environment. And when you can do something that everybody wins, what's not to love, And I have this passion in mind because I see that the potential of helping companies, helping the environment, helping future generations by doing the right thing, and you make money on top of that. I mean, how is that bad? And it's funny that we don't look at things that way, right? There's a lot of businesses out there that are harmful, and I wouldn't want to run that. That's just not who I am. And I am always, and I think all our staff, when they come into our organization, there's a purpose to it. And that's the beauty, I think, in our organization, that it's got a purpose. If you're in here, it's because you love the environment, you love to do the right thing, and you want to help environmental partners do the right thing for the environment and future generations. So that's why I'm passionate what I do. It's just fun, and it's great to be able to show a little awareness and pass some knowledge of 30 years that you can do the right thing and make money at it. That's it.
Rick Perez, the founder and CEO of Avangard Innovative. It's always a pleasure having your company on the show. Is there any last words you have for our audience before we take off here?
The last thing I would say to all the audience, whether you're in an organization, whether you do it on your personal, find a way to find your hidden green assets. The reality is, and it's not just a monetary thing, it's an environmental and makes you feel good about yourself. It's a good tool to teach your kids and your colleagues that doing the right thing is good. doing well for the environment. It's just a wonderful thing. And I just hope that everyone participates, because we like to complain about things, but we don't want to be part of the solution. So all I'm asking is be part of the solution. Let's be proactive together, and let's all win for the environment and for our children. It's a beautiful thing.
Folks, you heard it here first. Rick, thanks again for coming on the show today. Look forward to speaking with you again, always, by any means. Anytime you want to come on, man, you just give me a call. We'll have a good conversation.
I love you and I appreciate all you do. And you guys are an amazing organization, and really the great content that you guys put out there. So real leaders out there, you guys are real leaders in your space. And thank you for having us.